And we've had to send out a search party to find those notes somewhere in the mud on the rally circuit here at the Ben Motorsport Park. Getting ready for race 3 of TCR Australia. Cam is down on the grid.
Yeah, no hire cars were harmed in the filming of that little episode there. Will Brown, we just saw the rallycross thing that was going on out there, but made very serious ahead of race 3. Is it true, the whisper is you've got a strategy with Moff to take down Tander?
Oh, I don't know about that. Moff came up and said, let's try and get away. But I probably owe Moff a bit of, be a bit nice after what happened Friday. So we'll wait and see. But yeah, we're going for the race win and we'll be trying hard, that's for sure.
You cleared out early in that one. A couple of safety cars made it very interesting towards the end, though.
Yeah, I just wanted to get that first lap out the road and pull a bit of a gap because I know they've got pretty good straight lines. So we did that, but yeah, they pulled the safety cars. I was wondering if they was pulling me back, but no, there was a bit of carnage out there. So no, looking forward to it.
Thanks, Will. We'll check in with Rusty.
Thank you.
This is heartbreaking for Aaron Cameron, one of the most consistent drivers in the championship. Now, he came in with some damage to the left rear of the car, we believe, from contact with another VW Golf in Jason Bright. Now, the Melbourne Performance Centre crew, they are so well versed, they got it done, got the car back on the deck, and they were going to send him out just as pit lane closed. So, Aaron, unfortunately, you've missed the window. What a shame. What's happened, and have you got a brake pedal? I could see you talking to the crew at the moment. Have you got a pedal?
Yeah, no, she's all good. The guys done an awesome job to get the car back together, and yeah, shame we just missed pit exit there, so see how we go on the race.
Tell us what happened in the last one, and was it contact with Bridie? Have we got that right?
Yeah, me and Bridie were side by side out of 2, and I made contact, and he's apologised, so we'll move on, try and come back to the field now, and it's a really tough circuit to pass on, so see how we go.
Okay, we're almost out of time here. Mega job by the team. What have they changed on this left rear? Suspension and all sorts, haven't they?
Well, I've been sitting in the car, they've been working on it, but I believe there's a new shock, new uprights, all sorts of different bits and pieces, hammers and stuff, so they've just done a wicked job, and I can't thank them enough for all the effort.
Okay, thank you. Hard luck, Cam.
Yeah, I thought I'd grab Moff very quickly to get the other side of that. Will Brown said you've approached him with a strategy to take down Garth Tander. Moff, would that be something you'd be engaging in?
I don't know what Will's talking about. You know, these young blokes, they get this imagination in their brains and they just go with something. So, Garth's obviously a really feisty competitor. He's got a lot more experience than just about anybody else on the grid, apart from probably Russ and Bridie. So I really enjoyed the battle with him then. But yeah, for us, if I could try and clear him in the early laps and go with Brownie, then we might be half a shot.
Now, just quickly, you've worked hard with Renault. It's been a tough weekend, up and down. You're in a good position now. It would mean an awful lot to stand on that top step, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was the aim of the race a moment ago, was just to try and stay out of trouble and put ourselves in a good spot for this one.
Thanks, Moff.
Looking forward to getting this last race underway here at the Ben Motorsport Park. It is the third race in round 3 of the car sales TCR Australia Series. Will Brown, winner earlier on in race 2. He starts on pole position, so where they finish the last one, they start this one. Few spots on the grid there vacant from some of the cars that won't start. Chris Pither's Renault will not start. Aaron Cameron's VW Golf will not start on the grid, but will be able to start from the pit lane. Jimmy Vernon's Alpha, I haven't seen that car on the grid. I think that one's not going to make it. Alexandra Whitley in the VW. I'm trying to find a shot. I haven't seen her car out there on the grid either. So Greg Rust has done the bolt. Well done. Back from pit lane up here to the commentary box. There was lots going on. There was damage. There was stress. There was grief. To get some of those cars, I thought Alex Rouleau was no chance when we saw that accident earlier on. Great job with that Castrol Astra. It's the creased Castrol Astra.
Full credit to the crews and the way they all work together. And to hear Alex Whitley say there before, even some of the rivals coming to assist one another. So,
and they had their own car, this car, to repair.
Yeah, awesome that he's been able to at least have a crack at this race. Shame it's starting from pit lane. Honestly, Noons, they missed the window by a whisker. They had it on the deck. He was motoring out of pit lane, and it switched to red. Pit lane closed.
Car's about to leave on the warm-up lap. Emma with more.
Guys, still plenty going on down here in pit lane. We just saw Aaron Cameron limp down the lane and Alexandra Whitley just behind him.
Okay, so the 2 Golfs will get to the line. They will get to pit exit and be able to take the start of this race, albeit from the lane. So Tander and Brown, 1 win each so far. Remember that it's a podium for each race in Car Sales TCR Australia, but we, of course, do have, in essence, a round winner for the most points for the weekend. So there's bragging rights between those two on the front row of the grid. Garth Tander, the guy that's been there, the guy that's done it. Will Brown, the guy who looks like he can go and do it and progress up the ranks. He's already been a winner in Toyota 86 and Formula 4 and Formula Ford and Super 2 now as well. And in TCR, he's won more races in this series than anybody else this year, and he leads the points. So it's a youth and experience thing on the front row of the grid. It's really cool to see them come together in this category where it's very, very different. The diverse mix of drivers, of backgrounds, experience levels, drifting ability is also one as it's proving on this warm-up lap as they're all trying to get heat in the tyres. That's what we're loving about TCR this year.
A couple of experienced racers in this country that I know are watching the coverage have pointed out, maybe does the warm-up lap need to be a fraction faster in order to generate some more of that tyre? We see the aggressive movement from the drivers, particularly trying to get temp and heat into the rear. This bloke is a master at it, Will Brown. He leads the championship. We've seen him do this before. You watch him grab that handbrake, it's like a rally handbrake every once in a while, try and lock the rear tyres a little bit and generate some more heat into them. So he'll start, because of our progressive grid format here, on pole position. Alongside him, Garth Tander, as Noons detailed before, the pair of them have both been on the podium so far this weekend. They've each shared a victory in round 3 of the championship. Behind them, more makes. A Renault in the hands of James Moffat, a Honda in the hands of Johnny Martin, who is so thirsty for a win here right now. It's not even funny. He managed to get that podium yesterday for the Wall Racing crew. Can he get a win here this afternoon? And here's Tony D'Alberto, that brand new car. He'll start this one from position 9. Thought we might have had a little more movement from him. Maybe he's picked up a few more positions in that previous race. Has he kept a little something up his sleeve for the final?
He got 4 spots in the last race. He started 13th. He got to 9th. But remember, we had 2 safety cars, so it took a lot away, a lot of the green flag running that we otherwise would have had. Getting ready for the final race, as they are in all of the TCR Australia races this year. 30-minute timed race, so there's plenty of action, plenty of time to get rolling. 2 Golfs in the lane. Aaron Cameron, that's a mega job by MPC to get him out there ready to go, and Alexandra Whitley to get that other car from Alliance Autosport, and have MPC, when they had their own car to work on and get ready, help out at Alliance Autosport too. Let's take a look at the grid. Race 3 of the Car Sales TCR Australia Series. Hyundai, Audi, Renault, Honda. 4 different cars in the top 4 on the grid. Jordan Cox next from Russell Lingle. Then Nathan Morcom, who's been a bit of a quiet achiever so far this weekend. Leanne Tander 8th, Tony D'Alberto 9th, and Dylan O'Keefe desperately trying to rebuild his championship in 10th spot.
Jason Bryant will start on the 6th row of the grid alongside Kelly Racing's Chelsea Angelo. Aaron Cameron, now we've detailed that for you. You've seen the shots of him. He'll start from pit lane. He was due to kick off from position number 13. Chris Pither, what a shame for Pither after hitting the wall in that race. And of course, Jimmy Vernon putting his hand up. Great job, unfortunately making contact with Alex Rouleau, who was just an innocent bystander. And you know that they've been working feverishly on Molly Taylor's car. Still a question mark over the sole remaining Subaru. Have they been able to cure those fuel pressure problems that have been plaguing that car so far today?
I think the answer to that might be sadly no, because that car's not out lining up at pit lane exit from what we've seen or on the track. On board with James Moffat in the Renault. Can he back-to-back for the Renault Megane? He's had 2 podiums this year, but not back-to-back. Had 1 down at Phillip Island, 1 here this weekend. Cars rolling around. Look at the side of that Castrol Astra. It has certainly been crunched. We were on board with Alex Rouleau in that replay as Jimmy Vernon in the Alpha had a little loose, very small loose, but ran off the road, speed back onto the circuit, and that's just where the Astra was. The Alpha will not start this race. The Astra does make it to the grid.
And for our viewers that are watching in southeast Queensland or perhaps northeastern New South Wales, we would love to see you at the next round of the championship. Queensland Raceway, August 2 to 4. Come and see what all the fuss is about. It's really exciting racing. And we're set for the final one of the afternoon. Queensland, of course, will mark the midpoint of our inaugural championship.
And this race, Greg, marks more points. For the final race of every weekend, we put more points on the line. It's 50 to win this one. It was 40 to win earlier on. So more chances here for Will Brown to get away. It's more chances for the rest to catch up. But that Hyundai looks pretty fast on pole.
You were almost in auctioneering mode then. What am I bid? What am I bid? 50 points?
Once, twice, 3 times. Let's sail.
I'm sold. I'm sold. Russell Ingall using all of that experience, the enforcer, to get up to 6th position. Yes, there was a bit of action that unfolded. He'll start on the 3rd row. Will it be Brown? Will it be Tander? 14 laps scheduled here at the Ben Motorsport Park. The first of 2 visits for 2019. Here we go, final one of the weekend.
We've lost a few cars, but we've got lots of cars still ready to race. Turn 1 awaits. Long run down to that first corner. Tander nails the jump. The Audi's got moving. John Martin's got the Honda going well. Russell Ingall's going with them too, as they all jump across to the right-hand side. Cover the line to turn 1. Tander to the lead. Brown now being threatened by John Martin to the outside. Moffat hugs the inside. It's a smaller field for this final race. We've lost a couple of cars. Bright round the outside at turn 1. He's on the grass, ploughing through the scenery. Makes it through. For a second there, I thought we were going to lose another car or 2. Oh, Angelo, round, problem, right rear is Cole. I don't know if there was a bit of contact maybe there for the Astra, but she's managed to get away. And speaking of getting away, Garth Tander is doing to them what Will Brown did in the last race.
Nice start by Tony D'Alberto as well. We watch Jordan Cox battling with that Renault Megane down into the left-hander, where you see the cars really put all that emphasis on the front wheels, and that lifts that left rear off the ground. Spectacular. Tander solid through that sector. Martin, second position. Will Brown, Moffat. We ride aboard now with Tony D'Alberto. And he's dropped some spots. Back behind Jason Bright. So what's happened there? D'Alberto was up around 8th, now sits in position 11.
Love jumping on board with these in-car shots as the drivers work their way up the hill. Love this corner, right-hander, and it climbs up. We ride on board with D'Alberto in the Honda Civic Type R. He's had a busy weekend in both TCR and GT as Martin shows the nose and had to back out of that one there. And that loses all the momentum for him, because it brings Will Brown right up onto the tail of the Civic Type R. The run now to turn 17, the penultimate corner here at the Ben Motorsport Park. And then it dips down again and it rises up to turn 18 that sweeps onto this long pit straight, which has a hotel here even in the precinct. A lot of the teams and drivers are staying just above pit lane, so it's not far to get home every night on a race weekend at the Ben Motorsport Park. There's Moffat in 4th. Jordan Cox is next. Then Russell Ingall, who's kind of lost the gap to the front-running teams at the moment here in this race, but he's got a margin back to Nathan Morecambe in the next Hyundai. There's Dylan O'Keefe. Leanne Tander down the inside. Rear is dancing around. She's going to go really deep and really wide, and they'll all grab the Audi off the road, back of the pack.
Meantime, Tander with 0.6 of a second advantage. John Martin, look at him closing now. In that middle sector, he's made good ground in the Honda Civic. So we've been talking about it, how hungry Martin is. He's had a sports car racing background, but is thriving in this front-wheel drive Honda Civic Type R. Here's the series leader, Will Brown, using the paddle shift. Left foot braking.
Love this part of the track. This right. They're 150, 160 kilometres per hour, and it keeps turning right. Then you've got to get the car back across to the left, another right. This is where you've got to flow. This is where you could lose the momentum so unbelievably quickly and be pounced upon, and particularly in these cars. Martin is looking a little menacing here, showing the nose again, kicking up the dirt and the dust. Brown was a bit wide of the apex there, and the Honda is zeroing in. We haven't seen the Civic Type R take a victory this year. We've seen them there or thereabouts on the podium. We saw Tony D'Alberto on the podium in the first round at Sydney Motorsport Park. We saw John Martin. Well, he got a podium finish yesterday, but we didn't physically get to see him on the podium because it became from a post-race penalty for Aaron Cameron. So he never got the trophy and the champagne in that moment where you get to stand up there in front of your team.
In the meantime, the second of the Civics in the hands of Jordan Cox keeps that pressure on James Moffat. You can see them in the background there. Then Russell Ingall in the Castrol-backed Audi in position number 6. Watch Martin zeroing in on Garth Tander. 230 kilometres an hour on the run down to turn 1. Will Brown looms as well. Nice and deep under brakes from Will Brown, who closes that gap a little to Martin in the Honda. You ride with Brown now.
That time around, Will Brown, a 157.9, the fastest lap we've seen by a TCR car this weekend at the Ben Motorsport Park as we ride on board with the Hyundai following John Martin.
faces in the wall racing camp at the moment. Brown's doing a good job once again. I spoke with Bob Riley yesterday, who is a guy that's been around motor racing in this country for a long time, ran the Mitsubishi Rally Art crew for a while. He's down in that camp, and the two guys, both Nathan Morecambe and Will Brown, achieved their speed. Oh, a little bit loose, Brown in the Hyundai. They achieved their speed very differently when they look at the data trace.
Plenty of stressed faces watching on. That's Sharon Martin-John's wife in the Honda, and her husband is looking good here for a trophy. He's really zeroing in on the back of Garth Tander. Look at them kicking up the dirt and the dust. Talk about showing some respect to the Ben Motorsport Park circuit administrators. They're kicking up the dust here, there and everywhere, clipping the corners. But Tander still leads on board this Audi RS3, run by Melbourne Performance Centre, Troy Russell and his team. A lot of smart people in that operation, with a couple of cars here, 3 Audis and a Volkswagen Golf, with Aaron Cameron at the wheel. Moffat's still in this. He's 4th and not far away from the back of those runners for the podium. And this is the first real chance we've had to have a day of dry running, because there's been a lot of wet weather here in the last couple of days for both qualifying and the race yesterday. There was a few sprinkles on the windscreens as the cars made it round to the grid. There's Tander leading the way, 0.6 of a second. Fastest car on the road, though, Greg, is in 8th place. Dylan O'Keefe in the Alpha. Moffat's down the inside here because Will Brown was a little bit wide at the first turn, and that is indeed the result. The Renault is through. We're on board with James Moffat. A little bit of a mistake from Will Brown at turn 1, ran wide, and that opened the door for Moffat to move on through.
Look at Martin. Martin is hustling here as he chases Garth Tander. It's 0.7 between the pair of them. Look at that left rear off the ground for the Honda Civic Type R. Good driving by James Moffat. The Magan's been fast here. Remember, as Alex Whitley's car, the Actron Air VW, is back in the lane. All that hard work done by the MSR crew, by Matt Stone. They raced the clock to fix the damaged cooling in the front of that car, but obviously they've not been able to cure it. Started that car from pit lane. Aaron Cameron still circulating. That's good news for another of the VW Golfs, but he's well down the order for a racer that's been so consistent in this sport, in this class so far.
8 different brands in TCR Australia, and we're seeing a pile of them run up front. The Audi, the Honda, the Hyundai, the Renault. There is the team at MPC. Eric Pender off there to the left. To the right is Joe Sasso. To the right of our screen now, with his hands crossed, is Blake Smith. Lot of experience there in supercars and GT racing, and now in TCR.
Joe Sasso, you and I spoke to him this morning. I mean, I think he started working as a mechanic for John Faulkner in the early 2000s. Has been at HRT. He's too much of a pro. I don't think he'd say it, but you kind of sense that Russell's calmer than what he was back in, say, the Lucas Dumbrell days. He's really enjoying his racing here. He's having a ball.
There he is in the back of shot, number 100, the black Audi with those green headlights. That suits, doesn't it, for an enforcer to have green headlights?
Very much so. Castrol green, perfect.
Look behind, Dylan O'Keefe, the Alpha there, car number 9, trying to rebuild his weekend. That car's quick. New fastest lap of the race is Tony D'Alberto, 1:57.45 last time around. He's 9th at the moment in the Honda, but we jump on board with Russell Ingall, the 2005 Supercars champ, Bathurst winner with Larry Perkins in 95 and 97 in a very different type of car to what he's driving here this weekend. The wheel spun at the other end of that car and a couple more cylinders.
He threw the bait out before. I grabbed it. He said, oh, let's wait and see. Next event on the calendar is my home state. He's a proud South Aussie, but he now resides in Queensland. Will he come back and do another round of TCR? Wait and see. Oh, Tony D'Alberto.
Contact down there at turn 1. Now, that was the opening lap. Jason Bright ended up off through the scenery. Now, who got D'Alberto sideways at turn 1? I'm not really clear on there from the in-car shot. But he runs in 9th place at the moment. Back to the front. Garth Tander, the leader in the Audi. Little margin back to John Martin. James Moffat next. Jordan Cox, the debutant, sits in 4th place. Just in behind them in the Honda. And Will Brown has slipped back. He's lost a spot. He's back to P5. Plenty of action from the Ben Motorsport Park. Stay with us on SBS. More action when we come back.
That incident was fastest lap of the race so far with a 1 minute 57.45. But Tander leading the way by 0.8 of a second from Martin. Has Martin just cooled off a little bit here, maybe saving a little something for the final part of this race? Moffat's in the mix. There's Jordan Cox ahead of Will Brown now, as Aaron detailed before. We go back to Russell Ingall, who's the flashing lights from Nathan Morecambe. He is eager to get past here.
Tell you what fries your brain watching that pit straight shot here at the Ben Motorsport Park. There's a separate kart circuit behind, and someone came around in a kart on the kart track in the background and almost looked like they were about to hook onto the back of the queue onto the pit straight. They weren't, but it looked that way.
And there's a bit of undulation as they approach the braking point at the end of the front straight here at Tailem Bend. Great facility, the Ben Motorsport Park. If you're in this neck of the woods, you really must come and check it out if you enjoy your motorsport. And that new rally facility, Will Brown said to me this morning, can we go back? Can we go and cut more laps?
Someone needs to go and find the pace notes. They're somewhere buried in the dirt out there.
That's right.
I'm board with Delberto. This is the section of the circuit that I really love. 7, 8, 9, the 3 right-handers that come in quick succession. Then it's this left-right sequence. This is where Garth Tander ran a little bit wide yesterday. Plenty of runoff area here. Plenty of other roads for other circuit variations here as well. We're using the 4.95 kilometre international circuit. I'll tell you what, everyone's been clipping the inside there and bringing up plenty of dirt, but Ingall's fallen back here into the clutches of Nathan Morecambe in the HMO Hyundai, the second of these I-30Ns, and Dylan O'Keefe is right with him. The Alfa Romeo Giulietta Veloce from Ash Seaward Motorsport, trying to rebuild his weekend. He's 8th at the moment, and that'll get him 27 championship points.
Nice to have you with us here at the Ben Motorsport Park in South Australia. If you've just tuned in live on SBS, it is round 3 of the Car Sales TCR Australia Series. Number 100, centre of your screen, that is Russell Ingall, the enforcer. Currently running in 6th position in this race. His debut in TCR. He's been here to the Ben before, but he's worked in a broadcast capacity. He's enjoying being back behind the wheel and sampling what this category has to offer for the first time. Meantime, in the Audi stable, if you like, the Melbourne Performance Centre stable, Garth Tander running up front with a 0.7 of a second advantage over John Martin. There they are. That's 1 and 2 in this final race of the weekend.
And Garth Tander, the winner of race 1 yesterday here at the Ben Motorsport Park. In the race earlier today, he was 2nd, so he's been racking up the trophies this weekend. John Martin with the Honda has just stayed within distance, not too far away. 3/4 of a second, limping car there. Chelsea Angelo in the Dare Holden Astra from Cali Racing. It's been a tough weekend for that team with their Subarus and with their Astras, but Martin's coming back into the game here. He's had a couple of laps where he hasn't quite stayed with Garth Tander, but he's definitely in the game now. Down the inside, change for the lead. That happened quickly.
That has got to be, I think, a bit of management. Maybe David Wall and the team have just said to him, let's cool things off in the mid part of this race. Let's look after those Michelin control tyres and buy ourselves a ticket to the final part of this race. And now we're seeing Martin come to the fore. The Honda Civic leads the race. He desperately wants a win in TCR. Tander knows what it takes to do it, and he's got to be thinking about the round as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, Moffat's right with them too. That Renault's not far away. Across the line. 7 laps completed here at the Ben Motorsport Park. 7 to go. Great chance to see the cars in action. That rise as they come towards the braking marker. Replay here, the Actron Air replay. Martin gets it really hooked in off the curb. Lunges to the inside. He looked at this move earlier in the race, but wasn't in close enough to really fire it in there. And then he was able to get the job done. The team at Wall Racing that run these cars, that's David Wall himself. He'll be thrilled to see that because now they're in the lead. They haven't had a race win yet in Car Sales TCR Australia. They're running a multiple car operation and they've had pace. They've been there or thereabouts between Martin and Tony D'Alberto so far this year. Is this the chance where the Honda breaks through?
Let's put a little email out to our... We're hearing about a potential penalty coming through. We'll confirm that for you. It might be a 10-second penalty, but we'll get verification on that. But a few of you asking that are watching the coverage, I know Paul Morris, who's had a lot to do with drivers like Will Brown, considering what the tyre strategies are going into this final race and the impact of it. So quick email to our buddies in pit lane there, Emma Francesco and Cameron Vandendagen. Is, say for example, Will Brown on rubber that's a little more used compared to the guys up in front, given what's available for the weekend?
Well, the rules for the Car Sales TCR Australia Series are such that you must start with at least 2 new tyres in both races 1 and 2. And you've got a maximum of 10 dry tyres to use across qualifying in the races. Remember, though, that qualifying was affected by wet weather. A lot of people ran on wet weather tyres and barely used the slicks, if at all. So they should have a pretty good tyre bank. Jason Bright had a drama yesterday where he hit a rock that punctured 2 of his tyres, so that certainly hurt in the overall scheme of things, but enough tyres for all these drivers to contend with. But it's always a bit of a strategy, but you never like to get too bogged in tyre chat, do you? We want to see cars go round and round, but it is one of the considerations. A little bit of strategy for them all to play with here, but John Martin's getting away. 1.14 seconds is the margin. Back to Tander and Moffat, Jordan Cox, there's Will Brown. Russell Ingall's been able to get away from Nathan Morecambe, who's got Dylan O'Keefe right behind him. And yeah, we heard that news through. Dylan O'Keefe will get a post-race 10-second penalty added to his time. He was the car that made contact at this part of the track with Tony D'Alberto. Remember, we were on board with D'Alberto when he ran off the road, and that's been assessed to have been the Alpha that was involved with that scenario.
Now, remember, yesterday it was an excited... an aggressive Jordan Cox that we saw making his debut in TCR Australia. It seems like a bit more of a measured performance from him today. He's currently sitting in position 4. It's a really good drive, and we need to sort of find out if it's going to be just a one-race deal. We'd love to see this guy who's been super exciting, a great addition to the championship in the coming races. It'd be good to see him continue his involvement with the sport. Em?
Chelsea Angelo, tough luck, because it really hasn't been your weekend. Talk us through the issue.
Yeah, no, it hasn't been our weekend. We had the same problem race 2, so our car was misfiring, and unfortunately it's just conquered out in that last race, because we were actually doing reasonably well, and I was hoping to get a top 10, but yeah, we haven't had the greatest weekend.
Tough luck. Push on.
Thank you.
I know Todd Kelly, the team boss, is trying to have a weekend off. I think he's away with family in Queensland. If I know him, he'll be still keeping an eye on things. So a bit of work to do for the Kelly racing team in the wake of this round, given the fact that, unfortunately, today, if you've tuned into our coverage this afternoon, Andre Heimgartner, the Kiwi, who's been doing a super job in the Subaru, is not able to take part in the Sunday races due to an engine drama.
They're going to have to get ready for the next round at Queensland Raceway, Greg, in 3 weeks' time. But at the moment,
it's cleared out.
Yeah, that margin. I was just about to say, look at that gap. It's 1.6 seconds now, and the Honda is in control. And this is probably the most in control and relaxed we've been in the commentary box for most of the season, because
we're standing.
We've used a lot of the action quota in the first 2 races so far.
Oh no, there's a quota, is there? Don't do that.
Well, it feels like we used it. Will Brown here, P5. This might be the first race in the whole season where he does not finish on the podium. He's put 8 in a row together, and on some occasions he's led from the front. In others, he's fought his way back from the rear. But in this one, he doesn't quite look like he's got the pace to run with them and to be able to get back and run with these guys. Garth Tander, James Moffat, Audi and Renault. That's what I love about this category. They've all got differences. They all look different. They all sound different. Even though they're all front-wheel drive, they're all up to 2-litre turbo, they all have little characteristics. They've all got their own idiosyncrasies of where they're strong and weak, and what corners they work well in, what corners they don't work well in, their tyre life and the way that they deal with those things. I think there's a lot of drivers enjoying almost a re-education, that they've been doing the same thing for so many years, or they've maybe got into some bad habits or just learnt a lot of other things, that they have to start all over again. This is something new for them, their engineers, the teams. There's a real degree of freshness in the pit lane this weekend and this season with Car Sales TCR. How about that dirt? They've kicked up half of the inside of the infield at the Ben Motorsport Park back onto the line of the circuit. Someone's going to...
Moff's, he's caught it. Oh, in the background, Jordan Cox, what a save! Jordan Cox, front-wheel drive, slides it rally style and catches it.
If in doubt, power out.
100%.
Nailed it. That's a guy that's got lots of experience in front-wheel drive. The minute that car danced sideways, he knew what to do. There he is, P4.
And it's an invigorated James Moffat there too. He was really close to Garth Tander, but he's lost all that ground now. So let's have a look. Moff has a moment, gets a little loose mid-corner, and it's like, I think someone pointed out to us before, you almost kind of go out in sympathy when you see that happen, don't you?
And
so
that was
great
Moffat.
save.
Remember, we spoke to him this morning off air, and he said the same thing. When someone has a moment in front of you, you almost just react and tend to do the same thing, which is not what you're meaning to do. It's just how it works out.
Great save by Jordan Cox.
Morecambe has dropped some spots here, Rusty. He's back to 9th. D'Alberto's in front. Dylan O'Keefe's in front as well.
So that's a question mark that we'll try and answer for you perhaps post-race in the debrief when we wrap things up after the podium, or you can keep up to date, of course, on the official TCR Australia website. Why are both the Hyundai struggling in this final race of the weekend? A little.
I don't have the answer for you. But nevertheless, Will Brown's going to get some good points in P5. I mean, 36 points for him. His nearest rival, Dylan O'Keefe, is two spots behind, but with a 10-second penalty. That at the moment he's running 7th, but you add 10 seconds, that drops him back to about 11th in the final classification. So it's been a miserable weekend, really, for Dylan O'Keefe and the Ash Seaward Motorsport team. As we ride on board with Tony D'Alberto in the Honda Civic Type R. Started on the front row of the grid at the beginning of the weekend. But his teammate here, John Martin, is the guy leading the way. Look at that dirt. They've kicked out even more back onto the circuit. 4 laps to go. 2.3 seconds the margin. Look at the left rear. Just lifting off the deck. He's been able to drive away. So can we see a first up win for the Honda Civic Type R? These cars are put together by Jas Motorsport in Italy. Have been a long time Honda tuner in Accords and Civics and the days of Super Touring and the other worldwide touring car categories that we've seen. They've produced a range of these cars around the world. In fact, there is somewhere in the vicinity now of 900 TCR cars built around the world since this platform began 5 years ago. That's stunning.
For those of you perhaps interested, Johnny Martin, of course, has had a great career. He's in his 30s now. Started in karting back in 2001. Formula Ford, successful there, and has been overseas. Things like a winner in the Super League Formula, competed at the Le Mans 24 Hour, where he's finished 6th. World Endurance Championship, of course, and a good, relatively recent history in sports car racing. And this is a different discipline, obviously, but this is something he's really taken to.
Yeah, it'd be good to see him get a win here, because the variety of TCR has been one of its main attraction points. And he's been competitive this year. Remember round 1 at Sydney, he had contact with Nathan Morecambe in the last race and ended up off the road. He had an incident at Phillip Island too, where he ended up off the road, and sadly Dylan O'Keefe was already there, and the Honda crashed into the back or the side of the Alfa Romeo. So this will be good to see if the Honda can add its way onto the list of winners. Will Brown's wide there. Running P5. First time this weekend, we haven't seen him locked in a really big battle. Boy, he's working hard. I reckon they've fried the tyres on that car, and there's not much left in terms of the Michelin rubber. Russell Ingall here has got an Alfa Romeo approaching, so it's Audi v Alfa. And Brown struggling. Look, he was wide there, and Ingall's about to pounce. Now with the tyres completely shot on this Hyundai, I reckon he's in trouble here. And we've still got 3 laps to go.
And was it the tyres on his car that were protesting through the corner there? So maybe he is. I mean, you could see the way he was feathering the throttle and using the left foot braking. So he's doing his level best to battle with the car at the moment. Meantime, he's battling with the likes of Russell Ingall behind him. Here we go, look at this. So watch the way the rear steps on him.
And plus, look how much dirt is there from all the drivers who've been kicking that up for the last 12 laps. It's now got to the point where you really don't want to get to the apex of that corner, because you're going to find a very dirty racetrack.
Fastest lap of the race still belongs to Tony D'Alberto. We're hearing from race control that we will go full distance in this one. It won't be time certain, so we know that'll please many of you watching at home that are purists. Dylan O'Keefe looking for options here. Tony D'Alberto's right in the mix as Russell Ingall in position 6, has his hands full.
I dare Dylan O'Keefe to use the bumper. I dare him. Hey, does he want to make a name for himself in Australian motorsport? I dare him to use the bumper. Young guy who's really finding his way in racing. Putting the pressure on the Audi. Showing the nose. Can't quite get down the inside at turn 6.
Nice driving, great racing.
I wasn't joking, by the way. Use the bumper. Good fight here. Two very different cars. The Audi and the Alfa Romeo, and Tony D'Alberto is right with them. 6th, 7th and 8th on the penultimate lap.
Martin's got a nice buffer. 2.6 seconds now over Garth Tander. Then back to James Moffat. This is the battle that we're watching for 6th position. Ingle has it. O'Keefe in the middle, and you were riding there with Tony D'Alberto just a moment ago.
Look at the dirt there. It's all over the place. You have to be very careful.
It's unlike racing drivers to look for an advantage, isn't it? So.
Shocking, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Brown's been able to hang on here. He drifted right back to Russell Ingle a lap ago. He's just been able to get away. Out front, John Martin, 2.8 seconds. He's built the margin. Back to Garth Tander. Remember that John Martin's had a tough run in the year so far, not really in the championship picture. Tander didn't do the first round. James Moffat's had some tough runs. Jordan Cox, who's behind him here, is having his first weekend. So for Will Brown, even though he's 5th, he's not really losing margin in points to people who are going to hurt him in the championship.
There you go. There's the gap between Tander and James Moffat. Now is the final spot here for race 3 of the weekend. Under threat, Jordan Cox. I've been saying it. He's taken a really measured approach to this race. We know that David Wall has worked with him on the radio. He was very short on words this morning, but he basically said, young bloke, eager, just got to look after him on the radio. Talk to him.
Let's hit the headlines online with some amazing stuff in an improved production Honda Civic at Bathurst, where he was driving around the outside of cars in places that he probably shouldn't or couldn't in any other type of car, but he's really made his mark this weekend. He and James Moffat got together in the last race, in the race yesterday, that put the Renault off the road. Good fight here. They've really lined up behind Russell Ingle. This Moffat in the Renault, 3rd place at the moment, looking for back-to-back podiums today. Final lap at the Ben Motorsport Park, and it looks like, Greg, a win for Honda. It'll be a breakthrough for Wall Racing with the Civic Type R, and John Martin out in front. Here's Tander. Set for 3 in a row in terms of podiums this weekend. Great to see the rallycross trackers come to the circuit here.
They were all a little bit tentative through there, weren't they, that time? Moffat, deep. Jordan Cox goes deep there. Some of our media colleagues have been taking bets on how many times people either in socials, race reports, or in commentary will say internet sensation. You've got to go and Google it and see what Jordan Cox has done. That's amazing. Meantime, another of the Type R's in that stable is out in front, and Martin looks like he is going to get the breakthrough in car sales. TCR, special moment for him and for Wall Racing. Martin is a winner in this class. Great work. Tander home in 2nd, and Moffat will get there. Holds on for 3rd from Jordan Cox, who battles and fights for that final spot on the podium all the way to the line. Will Brown, 5th. Russell Ingle, 6th. Some great stories have come out of this round at the Ben Motorsport Park. But it's Martin who is in the winner's circle for Wall Racing in that Honda. Very cool.
Great stuff. Great to have another name and another car and another brand and another team win in the car sales TCR Australia Series with signage this weekend from Honda Genuine Parts. It's fantastic to see another winner, John Martin, home by 2.7 seconds in the end. Garth Tander, 3 podiums in a row for him this weekend in 2nd. James Moffat, another podium in the Renault in 3rd from Jordan Cox and Will Brown, the points leader. Russell Ingle, it was good fun having the enforcer with us here this weekend. We'd love to have him back somewhere later in the year. Dylan O'Keefe in 7th across the line, but that penalty will move him back to 11th place in the final classification. So D'Alberto, Morecambe, Jason Bright and Leanne Tander all move up 1 position. O'Keefe 11th from Alex Rouleau and Aaron Cameron. That was race 3, the final race of the weekend in round 3 for the car sales TCR Australia Series. Let's take a look at the highlights. And Garth Tander in the Audi was running up front. We lost a few cars from damage in the earlier race. Aaron Cameron and Alexandra Whitley starting from the pit lane in the pair of Golf GTIs. Chelsea Angelo sideways on the exit of turns 2 and 3. Ultimately the Astra failed to finish. D'Alberto contact with Dylan O'Keefe. The Honda around, the Alpha with a post-race 10-second time penalty. Tony got rolling, fastest lap of the race and finished in 7th. Leanne Tander down the inside on O'Keefe at turn 1. Just ran out of road through the sand, through the grass, bounced out the other side. She finished in 10th place. Her husband Garth, though, up front, led the race for a while. John Martin pounced, and the Civic closed quickly and got the job done and was able to drive away to win the race by 2.7 seconds. More problems for the Astras from Kelly Racing with Chelsea Angelo out of this race. How's this for a slide? Jordan Cox in the Honda Civic Type R, nailing it and keeping it running through the dirt. Back to the bitumen. He finished position 4 in his debut weekend. Will Brown, first time all year he's been off the podium, but he still finished position 5 and extends his lead in the Car Sales TCR Australia Series. But for John Martin, a victory by 2.7 seconds. Garth Tander home in 2nd and James Moffat 3rd for Gary Rogers Motorsport with the Renault Megane. What a day, what a great weekend for Car Sales TCR Australia. Emma?
Thanks, Noons. Just thought I'd check in with the director of ARG, Matt Braid. What a fantastic weekend yet again for TCR Australia Series and great racing, that's for sure.
Yeah, thanks, Emma. It was, again, different winners all over. Eventful, few accidents, a few people couldn't make it on the grid on the 3rd race, which we haven't seen for in that sort of level before, but really eventful and really happy again to showcase.
Listen to that, there was so much hype leading into the first round and it really has lived up to it, hasn't it? And great talent down the lane too.
Yeah, we're seeing some of the young guns come through, which is really pleasing, and obviously to see John, he's had a bit of a tough season, but to see him win now in race 3, it's great. So everyone's having a go, which is great, and having a win, and I think the mixed nature of the results is fantastic for the series and bodes well for the future.
Love being a part of it. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks.
And that mixed nature of this series sees us add another winner to the list. Jason Bright's been a winner, Will Brown's been a winner, Dylan O'Keefe, Garth Tander, and now John Martin adds his name to that list and scores 50 championship points to put into his championship tally. And of course this series is 3 rounds down, there's 4 to go at Queensland Raceway, at Winton, Sandown and the Bend, so we get to come back here later in the year to finish off the championship. Great racing today. Let's head back down to the lane with Rusty.
Noons, he gave the Civic a boot full when it arrived. You could tell how much it meant to him. Johnny Martin, congratulations, superb stuff.
Yeah, thanks, mate. It's yeah, I just feel like we've had so much bad luck at the start of this whole TCR campaign. So it's you know, the boys at Wall Racing do an amazing job. The car's been pretty quick. We've just had so much bad luck. So to repay them with a win in that sort of style is super pumped. It's amazing.
We're almost out of time, but it looked like you saved a little bit tyre-wise, did you?
A little bit towards the start. It looked like Garth's car was going like really early on, and then started to come back at him. I'm like, yeah, here we go, we're on. So it's yeah, a credit to Honda and the Wall boys. It's car's mint.
Well done. You can tell the smile says it all. He's really happy. And, of course, congratulations to Garth Tander and to James Moffat. That wraps up our live coverage here on SBS of round 3 of the Car Sales TCR Australia Series. We will reconvene in Queensland in a few weeks' time. In the meantime, you can stay up to date with the latest on the website. Bye for now.